This episode of Capes and Lunatic Sidekicks is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. To get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
This is Luca Perich, and you are listening to the Capes and Lunatic Sidekicks podcast.
In brightest day,
in blackest nights,
No evil shall escape my sight.
but those who worship evil's might.
beware my power.
Green Lantern's light. Hello and welcome to the first episode of Sector 2814, the Green Lantern podcast. I am core member Phil. With me is Will Allred. Master Lantern battery off. And who known as Mr. Matt Kona.
That's right, Mr. Matt Kona.
Phil, you're really coming in low. I can barely hear you.
Okay.
It's that new music. It wants to be heard.
I know. Is that any better?
Yeah, that's a lot better.
Okay. Yeah, it's probably the music. All right. So, since it's the first podcast, I figured first we get into maybe like a little bit of our history with Green Lantern. Let's start with Mr. Matt Kona because probably the least experienced of us. So what's your experience with Green Lantern?
I picked up a bunch of spinner rack Green Lanterns probably at a drugstore or convenience store. That's how I got most of my comics as a kid during summertime, spending time. And my family used to go up to Maine, and they would be at the beach all day, and I would not want to sit on the beach or go in the freezing cold sea, so I would walk around downtown and go get comic books and things like that to read. So I did read some. I remember very, very clearly the Guy Gardner stuff, and I was reading until he spun off into his own comic with a different costume and stuff. So I don't remember all the super details of it, but that was a clear thing because Guy Gardner had the same haircut as a lot of kids in my school, the classic mushroom cut, and but I didn't really have anyone to talk to about it. But I read them from time to time. So
yeah, I was looking at some of the comics, looking to fill some of the gaps in my collection because I really didn't collect the Guy Gardner stuff, most of it. So I was like, oh, maybe I should get some of this. And I was like, oh, damn it, did they make me like this? Am I going to be collecting Guy Gardner because of these two? I mean, again, he's like one of my least favorite Green Lanterns, but just I've been reading through some of the stuff, and I'm like, man, it doesn't seem too bad. At this point, I kind of get what they were going for, but
I really liked him in the rebooted Green Lantern Corps stuff.
Oh yeah. After Rebirth, they did
after Rebirth.
A lot, yeah.
I mean, they really did, I think, a good job of differentiating the various strengths of each of the Green Lanterns. Not only just the Earth ones, but all the other aliens that we get to see, on Oa and other sectors and everything.
Oh yeah, I mean, so all right, Mr. Allred, your experience is a lot more. So
okay, the first comic I remember ever buying off the stands or getting bought for me off of there used to be this thing called newsstands, kids.
Oh yeah.
Was an issue of Green Lantern. I believe it was number 121. I was very young. And basically Hal has fallen to his death because he's lost the ring and Green Arrow's up on a plane getting ready to shoot it to him or something. And it ends on that cliffhanger. I thought he, took me 20 years to find the next issue or something, and I was on my edge of my seat for that long. What happened next? Did he survive?
Yeah.
I'm joking. But I've always really loved that kind of character that, and there goes Otis, the kind of character that, just by being the best you could be, you could potentially be, a Green Lantern, right? It was, the ring enabled you if you had a strong enough will. Hey, what's my name? Sorry. Anyway, But I thought that was really cool. And anything that was yellow, that was kind of goofy, but it was just kind of came along with the character, it was yellow because it was fear. There's so much, and we'll let Phil talk about it, but there's so much symbolism in the way Green Lantern works and the costume and everything that, it's just awesome.
Yeah, I kind of was like in and out of Green Lantern, but then once Cal Rayner became a Green Lantern, I got into it full time, and I went back, and again, I like filled in like my '90s collection. I got some of the pre-crisis stuff too, especially like that where John Stewart takes over and stuff. It's one of my favorite covers. Hal Jordan just walking away from the Guardians, or I quit.
Yeah. He's only done that a million times, right? That was the first time, maybe, I don't know. Well, some of those, like in the 170s, 180s of that Green Lantern series, you have Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons doing backup stories of Green Lantern, with little 8-page stories that are just awesome. You get Mogo Doesn't Socialize. Well, Mogo's the biggest and the baddest Green Lantern, and a guy goes there to beat up on him. And spoilers, he's a planet.
Well, yeah, I was going to talk about, letting everyone into the core, man. He's a living planet.
Yeah, which is really cool. And then, you get the F-sharp bell because Kat Matui has to go recruit a Green Lantern, a new Green Lantern, and that race cannot see.
Ooh.
And every time she says Green Lantern, the ring says untranslatable, untranslatable. So, she has to figure it out. And the gist of the story is that, yes, I've recruited the newest member, but in truth, he's never heard of us. He does. And those are just two of them. You get the Blackest Night, where they talk about the ultimate Green Lantern. These are some really important stories to the Jeff Johns Rebirth run. That started, with the Rebirth series. So yeah, there's lots of cool stuff in there. I mean, Green Lantern, it had his highs and his lows. I mean, Hal was an insurance salesman for a while.
Was he was he selling chicken or something too?
Yeah, it was not awesome. But then we get Green Lantern. Before that we get Green Lantern and Green Arrow. By Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams, which were groundbreaking and opened up comics to new possibilities. Yeah, I personally don't think that they've aged that well, but that was almost 50 years ago. So.
You're talking about, you jive turkey?
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff, and but again, there's a lot of periods with like Hal just like roaming around, not knowing what to do. In some of those earlier ones, and like episode 3 and 4, we're kind of going to get the Hal wandering around.
Mm-hmm. And then I guess I'm a little tired of them blowing up Oa, and killing all the Guardians, and then the Guardians are back, and Oa's back, and then they blow it all up again and kill them all again, and then for a group of beings that have been around for literally billions of years, you would think that their imminent death and resurrection would be a little bit rarer.
And I just hate when they don't know how to rate them. It's like they're like these benevolent protectors, or like these like they have a sinister agenda. It seems like there's never.
Yeah, and you would and that's part of, I think, it's always question authority. You should always question things, but here are beings that are literally billions of years old that would have more knowledge than all of humanity, just because they've lived so long. Maybe they are kind of wise too. Maybe we should listen to them. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they always play it off as well, we just don't understand humans because we are so old, and I get some of that, but I don't know. I'm eager to get to a place where the Guardians, the Guardians came back with Rebirth and all that, which was awesome. And getting them back and having them back for a pretty long stretch during the Rebirth, the Jeff Johns run, and then after that, the New 52 run and things like that. And I haven't really read much of the New 52 run, so I'm kind of looking forward to, ultimately when we get there, catching back up on some of those things.
Well, it's weird because the new 52 Green Lantern was kind of like the new 52 Batman. They didn't change much because it was selling so well. So I think those were like the two biggest ones. Like new 52, they tried to kind of keep the same, but tried to fit the new 52 was Batman and Green Lantern.
Well, and Jeff Johns is not going to invalidate all of the continuity that he just wrote, right?
No, it's like we added all this good stuff, like the other colored lantern ores and stuff. It's like going to like wipe that all away. It's like, it's.
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember, I was, buying stuff at the time, and the Sinestro Corps War was just this really massive, awesome crossover, that happened in the Green Lantern books, and I think it's held up pretty well. There are things that I don't like about the militarization of, the Green Lantern Corps, but, I think that's something that Grant Morrison in his season 1 and season 2 of his and Liam Sharp's Green Lantern that he was really trying to move away from. They're not military organizations. There is some hierarchy, but they're not soldiers basically.
Yes, and so I mean, basically what we're going to do is tonight we're going to cover Showcase 22, Hal Jordan's first appearance, and then Emerald Dawn. Next week we'll do Emerald Dawn 2, and kind of like the end of the first series, episode 3, we'll do like the Action Comics kind of cross, for just the first and second series. Then episode 4 will start the first series. But when we finally get our TV show, we'll cover that too. So
yeah,
there's an HBO Max series in the works, which
nice.
Yeah, I don't know when it's coming, but yeah, they said it's going to focus on Alan Scott, Guy Gardner, Simon Baz, and Jessica Cruz, and Sinestro and Kilowog.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah, and that's the thing. The boys have.
That's a good show too.
They grew up being. Yeah, that's a different network. They grew up as Green Lantern fans, and we were all three of us super hyped about the movie.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. And it didn't go so well, but whatever.
I mean, again, it was like too much. I mean, some of the stuff was goofy, but they just tried to do too much too quick. I mean, did you really need Parallax in the first movie? Did you need Hal defeating him like his first days on the job?
Yeah, and I mean, when you get right down to it, the cast was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, all the actors and actresses were. It was well. The story kind of failed all of them. I feel like, unfortunately.
Well, I know Bill told me this. I guess they hired Ryan Reynolds. Originally, he wasn't going to be Green Lantern, but then I don't know what happened, and I don't know if they decided to make a Green Lantern movie instead. So they gave Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern. You know who he was originally going to be?
Who?
Barry Allen.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And if that would have happened, then we wouldn't have got the Flash TV show and the whole DC CW verse, right?
Well, Arrow came first, but yeah, it wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, Flash, went on to be more popular than Arrow. So, so whenever we get our TV show, we'll cover that. We'll cover that in our, in our sector. If nothing else, in our sector report in the beginning.
That's right.
Oh, but all right, I did get written feedback from Ray, so he did read Showcase 22. So.
Which is a pretty good segue, right?
Oh, that's great. So should we start with Showcase 22 then?
I think so.
All right.
So there's 3 stories in there, which is pretty amazing. When did it was 1950?
I have it here. Let me stop. What you say? 58. It was. What was I? Just saw the date. Okay, here it is. Cover date October 1959.
Cool. So that is 62 years old. Wow.
I mean, I know me and Loaf were covering some of the early Barry Allens for a while. That came out. That was Showcase 4. That was Flash even older.
Wow.
Yeah, that was like 56, I think. So yeah.
But again, it was the Flash Inc. there. They were reworking old concepts because they had them in 1940.
Exactly, and updating them for the nuclear age, right? Science and technology. So the Flash became a CSI before CSIs were cool.
He was a police scientist, yes.
Yeah. And then, Hal was a test pilot. He was Chuck Yeager, which is, we're talking going to the moon and, the Apollo program and breaking the sound barrier, all that kind of, this was that time period. This was the Great Society, the Darwin Cook series, what was the name of it?
Was it New Frontier?
New Frontier, yeah, it was the New Frontier. That was from JFK's speech about, the New Frontier, and these were New Frontier heroes, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. All right, so here I have synopsis for each of the stories in this. So, of course, the first story was SOS Green Lantern.
Mm-hmm.
An alien.
6 pages.
Yes.
Good gosh. Yeah.
An alien peace officer named Abin Sur of the Green Lantern Corps crash lands in the middle of the California desert. As he lays dying, he commands his power ring to seek out a worthy successor, one who proves to be fearless and strong-willed. Miles away, test pilot Hal Jordan is examining a flight simulator when a corona of green light envelops him, pulling him along with the simulator to the spot of Abin Sur's crashed vessel. Abin Sur tells Hal that the power of the ring selected him to take on the role of the Green Lantern. He gives him the ring, his costume, and a power battery. He instructs him that the ring will obey his every command, but is powerless against anything colored yellow. He also tells him that the ring's energy must be charged from the power battery once every 24 hours. Hal agrees to accept the responsibility of wielding the ring in the cause of justice. With that, Abin Sur passes away. Hal Jordan is now Green Lantern. And as we'll discover later, I guess it was a choice between Hal and Guy Gardner, but Hal was closer.
Yeah. And they add, I think that was what Guy's first appearance is like, Green Lantern 59, I think.
Yeah.
This is of the 1989 or 90 series, the one that could depict the Brit. The original, I guess.
Yeah, the original, the 1960. I guess the first series was 60. The first issue of that series was 1960. Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then he would get a case. All right, so again, six page origin. What do we think? I mean, we see what we get in. We'll see what we get in Emerald Dawn, but it's like 6 pages. It's like boom. Okay, here's your power. Here you go, kid. Trick or treat.
Have fun. Have a blast.
I mean,
it's interesting that Hal Jordan is wearing a yellow outfit too when he gets the ring, and then it's supposed to have no effect on yellow stuff, but maybe he just changed his clothes the old-fashioned way. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
We don't see him using the ring to change his outfit, but he does have a brand new costume one panel later. So.
Yeah, it's. It was a nice, quick and dirty origin. I mean, Spider-Man's origin story is an 8-pager as well. From Amazing Fantasy 15. I mean, they packed a lot in here and left a lot that they could fill in later. So it was pretty cool. I
mean, 50s and 60s, you got all kinds of origins. I mean, look at even Barry Allen's origin. It's just like, lightning, chemicals. Oh, look, I can run fast.
Yeah, faster than the speed of light.
It took him a few issues before he actually. But all of a sudden, it's like, oh, hey, look, time comes.
Yeah, let's get the cosmic treadmill out. Rock on. But yeah, I thought it was a really good, quick, and we get. And there's also a sense of humor in these stories too. That John Broome, I think, kind of, and Gil Kane added to it. Because Hal's a little bit of a ladies' man, and he, that it ends. The other stories end kind of funny, with Carol and
yeah,
they set up this interesting dynamic between he's his own, competition for her affections, which, is so totally 50s and 60s, comics at that time. But
it's also interesting to note that we came from a Quasar podcast, and Wendell Vaughn and Hal Jordan are on different ends of the spectrum of workplace inappropriateness. But, there is that common thread.
There, absolutely. Absolutely.
And
go ahead.
I was going to say, sorry, for the most part, it's like, well, yeah, Quasar, Wendell Vaughn, as we kept going on. I mean, he kept doubting himself for the longest time. I mean, it's a while before you see any doubt from Hal Jordan.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And he's a classic DC Silver Age hero because he does the right thing for the right reasons, and there's no doubt. This is what I'm supposed to do, right?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's a good little order. And then the two stories. Is it two stories that follow it?
There's two stories, yeah. Because the first one is The Secret of the Flaming Spear.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yes, because test pilot Hal Jordan goes to the office of Carol Ferris,
his boss,
daughter of Ferris Aircraft's president and CEO Carl Ferris. He asks Carol out on a dinner date, and Carol agrees. Suddenly, an SOS pipes through the office intercom. A Ferris aviator piloting the experimental flaming spear is in trouble. Hal sneaks away and changes into the Green Lantern. He flies to the runway and helps bring the flaming spear safely to ground. His ring picks up a strange radiation emanating from the nose of the plane. Tracing the energy signature back to its source, Green Lantern finds that a group of saboteurs are responsible for disrupting the flaming spear's flight path. When Green Lantern appears before them, the thugs begin shooting at him, but he uses his ring to make their bullets explode. One of them picks up a yellow lamp and heaves it at Hal. As the power of his ring is vulnerable against anything colored yellow, the lamp succeeds in striking Jordan's head, knocking him down. The saboteurs take this opportunity to make their escape. Green Lantern revives and gives chase, but quickly discovers that their getaway car is colored yellow as well. He uses his ring to spike the vehicle's tires, causing it to skid to a halt. Three criminals attempt to flee, but Hal binds them with tendrils of green energy. Oh, sparkly green tentacles. With the threat abated, Green Lantern changes into his civilian attire and returns to Ferris Aircraft. Carl Ferris calls Carol and Hal into his office for an important announcement. He tells them that he and his wife are going on an extended vacation for the next 2 years. Must be nice. During this time, Carol will retain full control of the company. After Carl leaves the room, Hal asks Carol if they are still on for their dinner date. But Carol tells him that as his new boss, their relationship will be strictly business for the next 2 years. Back in his locker room, Hal laments the fact that his power ring can grant him his every desire, except for one thing he wants most in the world, Carol.
Nice.
I think that if you name your plane the Flaming Spear, and it's almost like tempting fate. I know there were saboteurs involved, but it was something bad was bound to happen anyway.
Yeah, because flaming fire. It's like in a spear. It's like you throw it up in the air, it's going to come down. It it goes up and comes back down.
Right.
So what do you think, Will? First Carol Ferris.
It's setting up the entire mythology of the series, and there's some fun there. He gets taken out by a yellow lamp. And they don't stop to kill him or do anything; they just run away, and then he gets them. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, but, he makes quantum ice picks, or not quantum.
Yeah.
How do I say it? Lantern ice picks. Yeah. It was a good short. I think it was a 10-page story, 8-page story, something like that. But it showcased. It's a pretty simplistic story, but it's well drawn. Gil Kane is a master, and John Broome knows how to tell a quick and light story. So yeah, it's worth reading. I do remember, the Green Lantern Archives or the Green Lantern Omnibus. A lot of these early stories, where they're 8 pages or 12 pages, are somewhat repetitive. So you can't go out. You can't really. It's hard to binge them just because it's like you're reading the same story over and over. But they quickly got past that. Once the Green Lantern series kicked off. I used to call that the 40s series is Volume 1, the 60s series is Volume 2, and then the 90s series is Volume 3, and then all kinds of weird stuff happens after that, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think it's just a good little short story. It's pretty awesome.
Again, first issue. There's 3 stories, so it can't be that long or detailed. It's like, no Guardians universe yet. Basically, no other Green Lanterns besides Abin Sur and the.
Hint at a lot of things, but don't let it get in the way of the action, right? Of lamps being thrown at your head.
All right, so we get to the third story in this issue.
This is the cover story, right? That was the yellow
Menace of the Runaway Missile.
Wow.
I wonder what it's about.
I don't know.
So yes, after conducting a test flight, Hal Jordan tries to ask Carol Ferris out on a date. He's not giving up. However, she rebuffs him, stating that she is going to the celebrity ball to meet Green Lantern. Man, he's already a celebrity. That night, Hal changes into Green Lantern and has a romantic interlude with Carol until he notices a missile in the sky. Speeding off to try to stop it, he realizes that the missile is coated in yellow paint and his power ring cannot affect it. He soon notices that the nose cone of the missile is not yellow and is able to stop it by creating a net with his power ring. Tracking the missile to its source, he captures its creator, a scientist who puts his evil ambition ahead of his country. After Green Lantern turns him over to the military, he returns to the Ferris Aircraft Company the next day as Green Lantern to apologize to Carol, who coldly rebuffs him. Again. So, what did you boys think of the big yellow missile?
This was kind of fun because it has that, quirky ending with, because he was kissing Carol, and well, if you were really kissing me, you wouldn't have noticed the missile, so I'm mad at you. I mean, it's just so silly, It's
Should
fun.
have had your eyes closed to let a bunch of people die.
Yeah. Oh, women. No.
That's true. But yeah, I mean, again, just like it's a big plot, a huge, plummeting plot device to show. Oh yeah, hey, in case you haven't been paying attention, yellow. He has no effect on the color yellow.
Yeah.
Yes, just in case you didn't know that. Mm-hmm.
From the last. In case you weren't paying attention.
2 pages ago. Yeah.
Yeah. In case you weren't paying attention, a couple pages back. Yeah.
I want to know what other celebrities were at the celebrity ball that they were dancing at, besides Green Lantern. Was big time 40s celebrities? I don't know. The cast of The Sound of Music was there, maybe.
and again, shouldn't he have been the biggest celebrity there? Because I mean, I don't care what kind of movie stars or sports figures you had there. I mean, who else could fly?
Yeah, and at this point, might have been a member of... No, he was not yet a member of the Justice League, so there you go.
Seriously. I don't know if... Do we even know about other superheroes? Well, probably maybe like Flash and Superman and Batman, maybe. But yeah, in the notes, I was looking for the synopsis. Yeah, all three of these stories have been reprinted all over the place, so...
Yeah. The Green Lantern Archives, there's a Green Lantern Omnibus. There was a series of black and white reprints from DC as well. I can't remember what those were.
Yeah, so like Showcase Presents. I do have like
I think you're right. I think that's what it was. Yeah,
and this Showcase 22, of course, is on DC Universe also. So it's one of those. All right, so like I said, I actually have written feedback from our friend Ray. Do you want to hear this?
Yeah,
you bet.
Our friend, I'm not going to put the picture up, host of podcast, Last Sons of Krypton, a Superman podcast, No Orders to Fear Her, the Spider-Woman podcast. I can hear him talking Scarlet Spider with me and Matt Kona last Tuesday every month on this podcast. And, of course, Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast. And as we record this, well, his birthday's technically the 3rd, but it's the 3rd down there in Australia, so in his temporal zone down there, it is his birthday at this moment. He was slacking off. That's why he didn't send recorded feedback. All right, so he writes, "Hi, Phil, Will, and Matt. Didn't have the chance to read all the issues, but I did read Showcase 22. Overall, it was an enjoyable read, and especially being a comic of its time, it had a nice classic feel to it. Dated conceptions like almost sexually harassing someone to ask them out on a date was countered at least by having that female character, sorry, I forgot her name, Carol Ferris. It's going to come up again and again, right?
She's kind of important. She is.
Yes. Take leadership of the company in her father's absence. I was familiar with GL's origin, so the first story held no surprises, but it was still good to see the OG version of it. I loved also the point they made, sure to stress that yellow was Green Lantern's weakness. The lamp, the car, the missile... were all fun examples.
the lamp gets the lamp. That's the one that's the most dangerous. The lamp.
I was going to say, thank God they didn't make those bullets like yellow or something. Similar to previous reviews of Silver Age comics, it's hard to score this, but I'll give it a solid B+ as it laid a well enough foundation for the character, with enough wiggle room for expansion and investigation of powers, character development, and origin of the ring. Yeah, apologies, I can't record audio this time, but I look forward to your thoughts on all of the issues. All the best. Right. Thank you, Aussie Fanboy. So, yes, the classic origin.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I remember this because they kind of did. I think maybe the first exposure I had to Green Lantern was the super challenge of the Super Friends cartoon.
Yeah.
The one episode I always remember is when the Legion of Doom goes back in time and tries to change the origins of Superman, Wonder Woman, and Green Lantern. And with Green Lantern, it's Lex Luthor just makes sure he's there to get the ring instead of Hal Jordan.
It doesn't work that way.
I know. And then I think with Superman, they just knocked his rocket off course, so he would land on the planet with a red sun.
Very cool.
Again, the Super Friends. But yeah, that's the first time I remember hearing Hal Jordan's origin. I was like, oh, Alien gave him this ring. All right. So, final thoughts on this before we move on to Emerald Dawn.
I think it was a really good start. I mean, the character has endured for decades because of the start that he got here, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. So, Emerald Dawn. The cover date of issue 1 was December '89, so it was 89-90. Jump way ahead, but yes, it's a retelling of the origin. Written by Jim Owsley, who later you will know as Christopher Priest.
That is absolutely right.
Keith Giffen and Gerard Jones. Should we touch on the Gerard Jones thing real quick?
He was a really prolific writer in the 90s. He did Wonder Man, Green Lantern Mosaic. He was Green Lantern Volume 3 and lots of other things, but I believe now he is in prison for, I think it's child pornography or something like that, which is horrific.
I believe so, yeah.
So it's difficult, we have to try to separate the art from the artist, because there are some stories that are good, but yeah. So we'll try to just focus on the stories.
Yeah, and again, too, I mean, it's not like he was alone on this, too, so it's I feel, we're shining a light on these issues because there were other people who worked on,
Mark Bright is an awesome artist, yeah. I mean, he did Iron Man work, I think, back in the late 80s. Yeah.
I remember, I think he did at least a fill-in issue or two of Batman, too. Yeah, he was all over the place around, the early 90s. All right, so yeah, this one was I guess this was the first official retelling of Hal's origin after Crisis.
I think so. A lot of the characters got the Crisis restarted everything, except it didn't actually restart everything, and some stuff still stuck around. But yeah, they got new launches. I mean, I think it was really successful with Wonder Woman, and I think it started out pretty successful with Green Lantern. Although I wasn't as huge a fan as of how the way they made Hal behave in Emerald Dawn. They were giving him feet of clay, and he was a drunk driver basically, going to prison. So that wasn't awesome, but the art was great, and it was cool to see an extended take on that 6-page origin.
6 issues instead of 6 pages. Yes,
exactly. Because we get some stuff filled in. I've always liked Tomar Ray as a Green Lantern. Kilowog is freaking awesome. There's a line in Rebirth where Hal's talking about, the pluses of each of the other Green Lanterns as they are fighting Parallax or something. He goes, Kilowog's ring is the only one that makes a sound when he uses it.
Yes. I know.
Yeah. It's just awesome.
I remember that scene. It's great because it's like you could tell Kyle Rayner's the artist, and he's like, and Jon Stewart's like an architect, so you can see like every nut and bolt in his like constructs and stuff.
And then you have good old Hal, who's a test pilot who's not afraid of anything, right?
Oh, we'll get to that in episode 3. There was that. Remember the Action Comics? It's like, was he really fearless?
Oh yeah, that's
weird. Yeah.
Yeah, we get Parallax, which was an interesting way to tie a lot of things together, and and Jeff Johns did really a lot of good for Green Lantern. Finally brought him. I mean, obviously Hal Jordan is the Green Lantern I love most, but he brought the entire Green Lantern Corps and all of the Green Lanterns back to prominence. So we got a lot of really great stories.
Mm. Oh yeah, Kyle Rayner saved the Corps. We'll get there. But yeah, I'll start the synopsis. Yeah, just jump in when it means one at any point. But so it starts with Hal as a young boy witnessing his father's death in a plane crash, which is like we were talking about. I think the first time we ever saw that was right here. Years later, Hal tried to follow his father's footsteps and worked his way to become a professional pilot. However, he was not successful and was often mocked by his peers. After some particularly harsh comments on his failure in his career as well as his personal life, Hal caused an accident with his vehicle which left some of his friends seriously wounded. Despite being in no condition to work, Hal decided to attend his plane testing job. But for some unknown reason, the simulator went flying away from Ferris Aircraft Facility. Before Hal could react, he was flying across Coast City until he reached a deserted area near what looked like an airship crash landing site. Hal was dragged inside by an unknown force that spoke to him telepathically, and inside the airship, he is greeted by an agonizing red alien who tells Hal that he has been chosen to be his successor as the Green Lantern of Sector 2814. Hal didn't understand the meaning of the message, but before he knew it, the alien died, and the mysterious green ring flew from the alien's dead body onto Hal's hand. Hal was instantly given the powers of the ring and the same uniform as the alien wearing it. Wishing to get out of there, Hal realizes that he can command the ring in order to perform anything he desires, including flying as free as a bird. Hal's confusion increased even after coming to terms with the fact that he now had powers. He still had trouble getting used to it. Hal keeps using the powers of the ring, but he knows that he has to face the law and turn himself into the police for the accident he caused. As he gives in, he has to surrender every valuable object, including the ring, and soon he finds himself locked in prison. All right.
Don't drink and drive. They kind of glossed over that in the synopsis, but.
And I mean, I know different teams come and go, but it's like after Emerald Dawn and Emerald Dawn 2, I don't think they ever mentioned that he is like an alcoholic at all. Do they, Will?
Not that I remember. I mean, this was kind of a quick and easy bolt on that they could then ignore later. I guess. Yeah.
And I think they're just trying to flesh him out. I mean, I don't know. I mean, everyone can judge the success of it or not, but I mean, I think they were just trying to make him like a more realistic character. I think like after Crisis, they were trying to make everyone more realistic and
give him feet of clay. Make him more, honestly, make him more like Marvel characters. Who had these personality flaws as opposed to kryptonite or the color yellow or whatever the thing was.
But yes, meanwhile, while Hal's locked in prison, the intergalactic villain known as Legion has followed the trail of Abin Sur to planet Earth, planet Houston, where he starts looking for his target. When he finds that Abin Sur is dead, he immediately starts looking for the new Green Lantern, and he gets the trail of energy left by Hal Jordan's ring. Legion soon attacks the police department in which Hal is locked in and kills almost everybody in the place as he looks for Green Lantern. In the chaos, Hal is able to walk away from his cell and reach his ring in time to confront Legion. Unfortunately, the ring runs out of battery power, and Legion grabs Hal and tortures him in order to learn the location of Oa and the Guardians. Without the Green Lantern energy, Legion moves away and follows the trail of energy left behind by Hal. In a few moments, Legion destroys Coast City's hospital and Ferris Aircraft. When Hal learns the bad news, he realizes that he caused it all and that all the destruction is his fault. He then goes back to the ship of the alien who gave him the ring, and he finds a Green Lantern in which he charges the ring. Once the ring is charged, Hal can access the memory database of the ring and learns the background of Abin Sur, the alien who passed on the ring and Legion, the yellow monster that attacked him. Once he learned the past events leading to the present, Hal confronts Legion once again, and this time he uses the nuclear reactor in Abinsurge to create a nuclear explosion that would destroy Legion, but would also kill him. However, Hal survived the explosion thanks to the ring, which protects him. After Legion was vaporized and the crisis was averted, Hal asked the ring to take him to meet another Green Lantern, and he flies across space in order to meet Tomar Ray, a veteran Green Lantern who explained his current situation to the rookie Hal Jordan. Soon they were both summoned to Oa, the intergalactic base of operations of the Green Lanterns, and Hal started his training with Kilowog. Unfortunately, during Hal's training, Oa was breached for the first time in centuries, and every Green Lantern, including Hal, were confronted by Legion. The Green Lanterns organized a systemic attack on Legion, but their efforts were futile as Legion was seemingly unstoppable. Some of the Green Lanterns died attempting to stop the alien invader, but they never stopped trying. Legion made his way to the resting chambers of the Guardians, where he was finally restrained by some cables from the Guardians' resting cubicles. With Legion unable to move, Hal Jordan took him out of the chamber and dragged him across a muddy area of Oa, where he covered Legion with mud in order to remove the effects of his yellow armor. Hal managed to beat Legion, and the Beast tried to explain his past history and hatred for the Guardians. Hal decided to leave him alive, but he removed Legion's armor, which turned out to be a mistake, as the being inside started growing and consuming everything on the planet at an alarming rate. When the Green Lanterns were unable to stop Legion, the Guardians realized that Legion was bound to consume Oa, and they commanded the Green Lanterns to abandon the planet with them. However, Hal Jordan refused, and he remembered Abinsur's words about the ultimate power. Then he recalled that the Green Lanterns take their energies from the central power battery of Oa, and he dived in. He goes into the central power battery. Remember that, kid. That's going to keep going back up, too.
It's kind of important. Just kind of.
Kind of a thing. Emerging as a being of pure willpower energy. Using this power, Hal was able to create a vacuum that took Legion out of Oa into space, where he was contained by the rest of the Green Lanterns. The Guardians then told the Green Lanterns to move Legion back to his planet, while they descended to Oa to confer with Hal Jordan privately. Hal couldn't recall exactly what happened or how he managed to merge with the central power battery. You'll learn. Finally, when the other Green Lanterns returned for their mission, the Guardians decided that Hal should return to Earth as his training had ended. Back on Earth, Hal turned himself into the authorities and was arrested for the crimes he committed before becoming a Green Lantern. When he was finally released, Carol Ferris gave Hal his job as test pilot back, and Hal eventually was promoted to pilot. In the end, Hal combined his duties as a professional pilot with his duties as a member of the Green Lantern Corps. All right, so, Matt Kona, what did you think of this story?
I dug how they kind of made it a gritty take on the good gosh 1940s origin, and it seems like he's got his hands full for his first villain on the job. This Legion character, this massive yellow, almost Doomsday-esque in some ways. I know this is pre-that, Death of Superman. But, yeah, this is still issue 2 we're talking about, right? Yeah. This is, I don't know. I got real into this. The whole 6 issues, I was flipping right through them. So, great artwork, and it's good to see a hero sort of learning on the job as well, which is fun. Shows the human aspects to him. This was the warts and all. Yeah, he drove drunk and caused some pain, but he's dealing with some issues, like the death of his dad and Wayne and trying to follow in his footsteps and all that. So it's good.
Yeah, and it did feel like kind of I don't mean this in a bad way, but it was kind of a quick read. I mean, they kept the panels per page, pretty low on average, and it moved along. And the art was really nice. So yeah, that was definitely a good thing too. I liked the right stuff at the end. If you haven't seen the movie The Right Stuff, and it's been a long time, but everybody wanted to be Chuck Yeager. Okay, even the astronauts that flew to the moon. Their idol was Chuck Yeager, and because that's what Yeager did. I mean, there's that scene, of him walking out of the desert because, the plane's blown up, and it's just a Thursday,
Just a Thursday.
Just another day on the job.
So this was because we had the next ongoing series coming out. Then 1990 was like, if you count the Alan Scott, it was like the 50th anniversary of Green Lantern franchise.
Yeah, and I think they refer to the 40 series is Volume 1, the 60 series is Volume 2, and then the 90 series everybody called Volume 3. So, and that I'm looking forward to talking about that because that starts out really well too, really well.
What the 90 stuff?
Yeah.
But yeah, and again, people, I know we're trying to squeeze a lot in here because again, it's issue 1 and issue 2, episode 2 and 3 will kind of be squeezing a lot in. But on kind of episode 4 too. But starting with episode 5, we're going to be cutting it down to like shorter arcs, like 1 to 4 issues each time. So it's not going to be
quite as compact and dense.
Yes. But again, especially this one because it was the first episodes.
Yeah. Well, and we saw, of course, we saw Kilowog because Kilowog trains. He's the one who trains the Green Lantern. But there, Sinestro was in there. We got to see Tomar Ray. We got to see Salak. Some of the Green Lanterns that would become or that were a staple of the previous Green Lantern series at the end when it was renamed Green Lantern Corps. So yeah, it was pretty cool. And the art was great. It was kind of it's a good story.
Yeah, I thought it was like a good retell, because sometimes you get people trying to retell the origin, and it's like, oh, what are you doing? But I thought this was a pretty worthy retelling, especially.
Yeah, and it was. I remember really liking it when it came out. It was like cool. But hey, they're Green Lantern is getting relaunched, awesome, and hey, he's getting a new series, yay! Forget about all that Crisis stuff. It's funny, Green Lantern. All the crossovers. All right. You look at Crisis, you look at 0 Hour, you look at all of these, giant crossovers that DC has done over the years. And Hal really wasn't a Green Lantern in any of them until really Blackest Night, because he was either somebody else was Green Lantern, he was somewhere else, or he was a villain at the time, or, during like 0 Hour. But it was the first one that well, and because it sprung out of Green Lantern, that whole Blackest Night crossover came out of the Green Lantern series at the time. But we will get there eventually, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get to everything eventually.
Mm-hmm.
What did I was... we're going to stick with, like, the Green Lantern book, and we'll do some Guy Gardner and stuff. But, eventually, we got to do some Justice League stuff, especially... like when Guy Gardner's in the league, like Justice League International.
One Punch.
Oh, yeah. But no, because, I've talked to Jan DeMatteis before, so we may be able to get him if we ever do some of those issues.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think where else. There's John Byrne did a Green Lantern one-shot with the science fiction author Larry Niven, I think. But I cannot remember the name of it for the life of me. I'll have to look that up. But it was trying to soft relaunch a little bit Green Lantern and try to situate it more as science fiction than opposed to just a superhero fantasy stuff. And some of it, I think they were supposed to build off some of it, but I don't know that anything ever came. I think it was really close to around Emerald Twilight, so that may be what happened with it.
Oh, I also wanted to ask you, have you been reading any of that Far Sector?
No, I've heard good things about it. I've thought about picking it up, but I haven't done it yet.
I did. I read the DC Universe had the first 2. I think I'm going to go into when I go get my comics tomorrow, so it's like a later week, I might pick see if they have some or most of the issues, maybe pick some of those up. So, I read the first 2, and it was pretty good. The art was good.
It was Green Lantern Ganthet's Tale.
Oh yeah, that's on our list. Yes.
Mm-hmm. But one of the things, and they, if you go check out Wikipedia, you can take a look. But one of the big influences on Green Lantern was the pulp stories by E. Doc Smith, the Lensman. And they've denied it, but I'm sure because the Lensman had a lens, and they were fighting a war against their bad guys who were all evil, and they were responsible for all crime and all this stuff. But the good guys lived on the planet Arisia, so they created a Green Lantern and named her after them. They made it more obvious that had influenced it because they took some names and some stuff from that. But
yeah,
the Lensman is pulp sci-fi from the 20s and the 30s, and it's interesting because of some of the ideas presented in it, but it's very dated. It's still fun to kind of go through. Ultimately, I read the novels to the boys. I've got them up on the shelf up there. It's like 6 of them, but I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I wanted to read them because I wanted to see what that influence was, and I see how there's some influence there. The Guardians of the Universe and all that stuff. So, but if you are interested, just check out the Lensman series, and you can see some of the early influences, perhaps, of the Green Lantern Corps.
What was that again? Which story was that?
E. Doc Smith wrote The Lensman.
Okay. So I thought some of it sounded familiar, but I don't think I've read that before.
It's, let me see. It's Children of the Lens, Second Stage Lensman. Children is book 6. I can't read the other ones from here because they're tilted the other way. But yeah, they're pretty cool. At least I think they're kind of cool.
All right. So, any final thoughts on any of this on the beginning of our new journey
through Sector 2814
and beyond?
And beyond.
I really like how the ring it's like an AI version of equivalent of Eon answering Quasar's questions.
Nice.
Teach him a little bit about the history, because both guys have come from a long line of interstellar heroes, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, that's another reason that why I probably love Quasar so much and Green Lantern, because they have a lot of interesting similarity. I mean, they're very different characters, but they have interesting similarities.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
But I'm excited for the journey and to dig in, because reading the 40s little stories didn't drag by. Like I've read some other really old stuff, and it felt like work somewhat recently. And reading the more modern stuff has got me thinking about. I can't wait to stumble across the books that I probably read as a kid, but only remember fragments of.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Oh, that's right. Next episode, we're doing Emerald Dawn 2. We're going to get an appearance of Guy Gardner.
Now, as just a little bit of a, preview, I don't think I remember liking Emerald Dawn 2 nearly as much as Emerald Dawn, but we'll get there.
Well, Emerald Dawn 2 is more like filling in the gaps. So it's like, between like, kind of like when he turns himself in and then when he gets out at the end of one. So it's like, it's like, hey, it almost smacks of, hey, let's I don't want to say cash grab, but hey, let's take another bite at that apple.
Yeah, because, hey, he turns himself in. So it takes place between these 2 panels of the last page or the next to last page of number 6, right?
So I'm assuming the first one was popular if they went back for that for it too.
And I think the Volume 3 series that launched with, I think Pat Broderick was the artist. I think it started out pretty good too, because there's a trade of it. I'm fairly certain they collected those first 8 issues of the new series, and then perhaps not as popular, because ultimately it led to Emerald Twilight and the book, getting completely revamped, and Hal getting parallaxed, and the Guardians getting killed, and Oa getting blown up, and all that fun stuff. So parallaxed.
All right. So, anything else on these? Or should we get out of here?
I think we're good, man.
I think we did a lot. I thought we did a hell of a lot in still about an hour. Not too bad, boys. Mm-hmm. All right. So so next time, like
mention that he got referred to as poop face at one point, right? That was funny.
I think one of Kilowog, he likes to use the word poozer a lot, I think.
Poozer!
That's right.
Yeah. All right, everyone.
See you later, poser.
You got to do that. All right, so next time for episode 2, we're going to do Emerald Dawn 2 and Green Lantern Corps 224, the last issue of, I guess what Will said is the second series. Mm-hmm. And then episode 3 will be the short stories from the Action Comics Weekly run. Some weirdness in there. And then, episode 4 will be the first arc, the first 8 episodes of the third series from 1990.
Yeah, I remember loving that.
Oh, yeah.
A lot when it came out. That was my jam at the time.
All right, so send us your feedback on all of those. We love feedback. Email us, capesandlunatics@gmail.com, or call the voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And please follow Sector 2814 on Facebook, on Twitter. We have a Book of Oa Facebook group. Please join us there. Please, there's so many Green Lanterns and so much going on. I mean, let's get some big conversations going, people. Let's get some arguments going. Who's your favorite Green Lantern? Let's go. Yeah, we know. All right. Yeah, so
I'm obvious.
So find links to all of those and all the other Capes and Lunatics shows, links to our YouTube channel where you can watch this video, links to merchandise, links to Patreon, all of it at Linktree, linktr.ee/Capes and Lunatics. And remember to support the sponsors, Tweaked Audio and Hunt-A-Killer. Tweaked Audio and Hunt-A-Killer. Get both of those. You can use the code Southgate for both of those for discounts. And pick up Pod Life, the book, now in digital and paperback. Learn the ins and outs of podcasting. And get down on Amazon. And when you do, use the link for Southgate Media Group right down there in the show notes. Help us support this show, the network, and that cosmic figure, Rob Master Doom Southgate.
Make it rain, so says Master Doom. Please kick me in the pants.
All right, rookie, you poozer, Matt Kona, where can people find you?
You can find me at Matt Kona on different social media aspects. Please do not tweet me or Instagram me if there's any yellow in the photo, because I can't read it. I'm going all in on this Green Lantern, so that's it. Slow down. We need this for drops. See you later, bunkies.
All right. Will Walred, Master of the Core, where can people find you?
Master of the Core. You find me at Walred, that's at WALLRED, at Gmail and Twitter and Facebook and all those places. You can find my self-published work, Diary of Night, at diaryofnight.com with some awesome artwork by Gene Gonzalez. And you can find just recently successful Kickstarter, Crossover Division, at crossoverdivision.com. And there's a Quasar website thing, but we're talking Green Lantern now.
You can always plug it. Like you said there, so it's kind of cross,
Yeah. The Quantum Zone. You can always find cool stuff about Quasar at the Quantum Zone, quantumzone.org.
Hey, Will, in your free time, why don't you start a Green Lantern website too?
My copious free time. I'll get to work on that.
See, kids, he's a writer. All right, so. All right, kids. Thanks for joining us. Again, brand new journey. Come back for another dawn next time, kids. I can't wait to get into series 3. Although, I mean, the Action Comics, there was some weird stuff, but I mean, unbelievable stuff.
Well, it's something that would change, Jon Stewart
Oh yeah,
forever. Yeah.
right out of the gate too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so remember, core, keep it green.
I am Connor from the House of L.
And I am Ray from the House of Zod.
We are two of the many, many survivors of Krypton's destruction, and we have made our home in Australia, and dare I say, have become Australians, for better or worse. But we have also decided to read Superman comics, read Superman books, watch Superman shows, cartoons, movies, basically everything Superman, and from an Australian perspective as well. Whether you're a seasoned fan, like me,
Or whether you are coming in fresh, wide-eyed and wanting to learn more like me, then this podcast is for you. Join us for our bi-weekly adventures available on all good podcast catchers.
so just search for Last Sons of Krypton, a Superman podcast. We'll be coming to you from Australia or some cosmic dimension, wherever we are that week. Up,
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 and away.
away.